Hi everybody, this is just a quick video to explain the literature review log that you'll be working with this semester and potentially in 610 and 694 as well. This is just a way for you to organize the information that you're getting from all of the various research studies that you're reading related to check-in, check-out. So I've found that it's really helpful to have a concise, simple place to store all your information and keep it together so it's easy to make comparisons across different studies and see how things relate to each other. And so this is just a really simple way to do this. Some of you might find that this is a little bit cumbersome and there might be a different way that you would prefer to organize your information. You are certainly able to do that when we get to 610. But for this semester, I would like everybody to use this tool just to help with consistency across everyone and to make sure that you are including the kinds of information that is important for you to include. So this log, I've given you some examples using a topic that is not related to our class. But the first thing that you're going to put on here is just what your topic of interest is. The example that I have here is student achievement and quality instructional practices. So how do those two things relate to each other? In the case of for the purposes of our class, you're going to be looking at check-in, check-out, that intervention. Then you're going to, so this is specific, this is going to be the same for everybody, the topic, check-in, check-out. But then you're going to have your research or your guiding questions. So you are looking at the hypothetical classroom that you discussed earlier that you turned in, and that can be your real actual classroom or it could be a made-up classroom, whatever works best for you. But you should have a specific research question, something that you want to learn about check-in, check-out that relates to that classroom. That's where the research and guiding questions will come in. And these will be different from student to student, depending on what you're interested in learning about that intervention and its impact on student behavior. So as we see in the example, the broad topic was student achievement and quality instructional practices. Some research questions or guiding questions that will be incorporated into the paper would be what types of instructional practices are being used to impact student achievement scores on standardized assessments, and how can teachers increase standardized achievement test scores. So these are things that, as I'm reading articles related to this topic, I'm going to have these questions in mind because this is what I'm really interested in understanding and knowing about my particular topic. So studies that address these questions or help me to understand better how to address those questions would be those that I would want to include in my review of the literature. So then that's just some kind of preparatory information that you put together to kind of help guide the questions or the studies that you include. But then the bulk of this log is simply the table here where you are providing information about each of the studies that you've reviewed to help you to organize that information. So for each article that you review, you will include the reference for that article. You'll include a really brief summary of the article. The main points or main ideas of the article. You'll provide some information related to the methodology that was used, so the research design, what population of students, the setting that it was conducted in, how long it took, and what procedures were used. For the results, what did they find? You can include statistical results or quantitative themes, shifts, looking at the significance of the findings in that particular study, talking about strengths and weaknesses that you see in that study, And then the last column is connections to other studies and the study that you want to conduct. Okay, so this last column is going to be, how does it all fit together? How do these studies compare to each other? What themes are you finding? What things are standing out to you as important to discuss in your paper? So I have an example here of one article with the type of information that you would want to include for the articles that you find related to CICO. So it gives you an example of the full reference. It's nice to have this because then when you're going to write your paper, you can just copy and paste this into your paper because you know what the reference is already. It gives you, you'll have information about just briefly summarizing each of your studies, then specific information related to design, participants, and procedures, what the results were, and any strengths and weaknesses that you find. If you find, or when you find, overall themes and connections between the studies, you can note those here in this final column. Okay, so you will be completing this for all of the studies that you find related to CICO. You may end up excluding some studies before your final paper, and that's fine, but you want to make sure you have everything organized and summarized in here. If you have any questions about how to fill this out or what information is needed, feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to talk with you more about that.